welcome to another Clever Dicks podcast. In this podcast, we talk to Sheryl McLay. Sheryl is a well-known New Zealand swimmer, and I think many of us have swum at various events that she's organised. We talk about her competitive marathon swimming career, including getting into the times after a English Channel crossing. But she's also done so much more. Sheryl's been doing a lot of coaching and run many events in New Zealand. So she talks about all of that and why she's not doing it anymore and how local events seem to be dying out. Sheryl's also a Surf Lifesaving legend and a life member. She's a great person and we had a great chat. Here we go. Welcome to another Clever Dicks podcast. In this podcast, we get to talk to Sheryl McLay. Welcome, Sheryl.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. So we normally start this off by giving, before Duncan kind of overtakes the whole conversation, just giving you an opportunity to sort of talk through a little bit of your swim story and just a little bit of who you are and how you're involved in swimming.
Oh, okay. So if we were to go back to the beginning, I was born into a swimming family. Mum and Dad were both swimmers in the 1940s and 1950s.
Yeah.
So there really wasn't a choice about learning to swim.
Yeah.
My parents became heavily involved in the Wainuiomata Swimming Club, which in the early days was in the Wainuiomata River.
Yeah.
Have vivid memories of having swimming lessons. Council would come down to the river at the beginning of the summer with a big bulldozer thing and make a shallow pool and a deep pool.
Oh, yeah?
And that's where we would go. The swimming club would run lessons there. And then a bunch of people, including both my parents, formed what they called the Baths Committee.
Yeah.
And ultimately built what is now Wellington's only 50-metre pool.
Wow.
Over in Wainui, it's outdoors. It's actually a beautiful place. I haven't been there for a long time, but it's still up and running. And so, that's, I guess, something to be proud of.
Yeah.
But by the time that opened, I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And the Wainui Swimming Club set up a squad. My mother was the coach of, much to her horror. I was the most uncooperative of the swimmers.
That normally happens like that, eh?
Well, I think it does often.
Yeah.
So you learned a lot of your swimming from your mum?
Learned a lot of my swimming from mum. Something else I also remember is probably a 9 or 10-year-old was Bill Sweetnam coming and running a clinic at the Wainui pool, which was quite special, and I probably didn't realise quite how special until I got a lot older. But we lived there right through my school period, and that's where the initial swimming was done. And then when I was about 19, I joined Maranui Swimming Club in Wellington, training with Alan Wong. And I was going to university at that stage, so it was relatively easy.
Yeah.
And Alan just suggested one day that there was this thing called the New Zealand Marathon Swimming Series, and maybe I might quite like to enter it.
Oh.
That's where you sort of crossed paths, I think, with Phil Rush, and
that's where I first met Philip in about 1979.
Yep.
He was already the best.
Yeah.
Best of the New Zealanders at that stage, and I think not that following winter was when he went off and won the world champs, which I believe were at the Capri Naples swim, I think. But he was just a 15-year-old upstart at that stage.
Yep. And so you were a little bit older than Phil at that stage?
Yeah, I was...
Changed since then, of course.
Oh, yeah,
of course.
Because you what?
Well, it seemed like significantly older, but I was
couple
I
of
was
years.
turning 19.
Yeah. So what are you now, 32?
Yeah, 12 and a half.
Yeah, me too.
I'm, just about to be 64. So,
Nice. Okay, so sort of pull background as a youngster and then straight into marathon swimming. Is what
yeah,
you're doing
I was
now?
never very good at the pool stuff.
Yep.
I was never fast enough.
Yep.
I don't think my stroke's too bad, but I was never good enough to make anything much.
Yep.
I think I won 100 metres backstroke Wellington primary schools at
Yep.
about age 10.
Yep.
But never really progressed from
Okay.
there.
Well, you did actually. You progressed a lot from there.
Not in the pool.
Yes. Yeah.
So what was the first big ocean swim?
My first big ocean swim was a 15 or 16 Ks in Lake Okaraka in Rotorua,
Yeah.
which was really quite cool. It was a stinking hot day, and I suffered really badly from sunburn,
Yeah.
not understanding, well, being in Wellington, of course, we don't really get that sort of sunburn,
Yeah.
but I learnt a lot about that type of the pre-race preparation around sunscreen from a Australian gentleman called John Curry, who arrived at the start line totally covered in zinc.
Okay.
And looked at him and thought, oh, that's a bit weird. But after having to go to the hospital a couple of days later and have some massive blisters drained, and I've been a fan of zinc ever since.
Okay, I get you. So that would have been, from your background straight into a 16K swim. Did you feed on the swim or?
Yeah,
what type of prep?
we each had a support boat.
Yep.
I think Alan was in my support boat for that first one. Fed from memory something like each hour.
Okay. And was it a full rush special, like Coke and a chocolate bar, or was it something a bit more sophisticated?
I had a mixture in a bottle.
Yep.
That was based on lots of glucose, some flat lemonade.
Yeah.
And then I would just make it a little bit more food-like with some baby food peaches.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So, but remember, in those days, we didn't have the products that exist now.
Yeah.
You're talking a long, long time ago. You're talking 40 odd years ago.
Yeah, not so long ago.
And there was nothing that was called a sports product. The only thing that we came across was Lucozade,
Yes.
which you had to buy at the chemist.
Yes.
Because it was for people with
All the old people.
Well, old people, severely dehydrated people.
Yes.
Yeah. Other than that, it was just flat Coke or lemonade or Fanta or something like that.
Lemonade. I didn't like the Coke in that situation too much. But
Cool.
yeah, no, it was an awesome day that day. So that marathon swim series had, I think, about 12 or 13 swimmers that had been picked from all around the country.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Air New Zealand, so we got flown places. One of the last swims that we had that summer was in Queenstown, in Lake Wakatip.
Nice and cold.
Massive big fuss made about people are going to die if they swim in a lake this cold. So I always laugh. I was the last finisher in that race.
Yeah.
So therefore I hold the world record for being submerged in Lake Wakatipu for the longest without a wetsuit.
Nice. How long was the swim?
I'm thinking again that 15, 16K.
That's a long time in that cold water. That would have been sub 10. Maybe not in summer.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember Dave Gerard coming and measuring core temperatures before and after, and all sorts of fuss being made about it.
And do you remember being like really cold after, or were you okay?
No.
Tough, man.
I'd done winter I'd done a winter in Wellington Harbour by then.
Yeah,
So,
Just take some
really.
notes, Jim.
Look, I'm trying,
some
but
notes.
it's just not working.
Jim, so this is before his cold water swim. His
well,
job was on the way in.
You've got to practice these things.
well, you're quite right. But like everything, it's the preparation that counts.
Yeah.
You can't dive in to anything
No,
without doing your preparation.
Yeah.
So, what were some of the big ones you've done? English Channel?
Yep, did the English Channel in 1983,
Yeah. That was before it became
September.
everybody's
August.
go-to. Yeah.
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 Had done Lake Taupo earlier that year in February. The old
South-
course.
South to north.
So when you say the old course, was it just a little bit different from what Phil does now, or?
It's a few Ks different.
Yeah.
When it was first swum, way back when, by Pat Cox and Margaret Sweeney's attempts and
Yeah.
all of that stuff was from a place called Stump Bay, which I'm almost certain is the furthest point south
Yeah.
across to Taupo Yacht Club. So the finish line is much
The same place. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Stump Bay.
a few years after that, Philip and his coach Tony Keenan decided that actually wasn't the full length
Oh, okay.
of the lake, and have gone to. So Philip swam from. What's the other place called?
I can't remember the place.
Yep.
We were there.
Do you remember it?
Yeah,
No,
where
I
that
don't.
where that motel.
That motel is, yeah.
The
Boat ramp.
little resort, and that's the longest.
Longest distance.
The
across
longest
lake,
distance. So that's cool. I'm okay with that. And quite quickly, when it became a thing to do, the times on the new course
Yep.
were very quickly faster than the times on the old course.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So there's no,
Yes, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I was the fastest woman for a very short period of time.
As long as it's anything more than a day is great. Yeah. Oh,
Yep. Yeah. No, it was a cool swim. I'd probably have to say that was the one that I enjoyed. If you enjoy a swim, enjoyed the most.
yeah.
What made it so different to some of the other ones?
I think things went well from the beginning.
Yep.
We got in the dark, and
Who was on the boats? Who took you across?
my boat pilot was Patrick Cox.
Okay.
So the Cox family were all out on and the boat's called Victory.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's up here somewhere.
Still around.
It was moved from Taupo up to here to be turned into a restaurant.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure. Not sure where it is at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stump Bay, if you're looking south to north to the finish, Stump Bay is on the right-hand side where we would have entered the water and then gone around that little headland in the IRB to Tokanu Bay is where the official start is now. And then there's that
absolutely.
little Wahi Bay.
Yeah, and because the lake's not
Yep.
directly north to south, it's kind of skill off a little bit.
So it's potentially, I don't know, it's probably about 2Ks further than original.
Yeah,
It's not
something
far,
in that space.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, 2Ks, so probably for the ones right at the top end of the speed, 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little longer for me though, yeah.
Well, what would it be?
All right, cool. Okay, and then, so English Channel, you would have been early 20s when you did that?
Yep.
Yeah?
23.
Yeah.
So the English Channel was at the end of August, and it just happened to be if you remember your history, but it happened to be the day that the Koreans shot that American airliner out of the sky.
Yes.
So I was one of 8 or 9 swimmers who swam across the channel that day.
Okay.
But somehow my timing must have been such that I was the one they picked. So I ended up on the front page of the Times alongside, just a little square, alongside of all the stuff about the
London Times
airliner. Yep.
That's a pretty cool story, eh?
It was, entertaining.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I swam that on the same day for a good friend of mine who also done those, all 3 of them. Rhonda Smith, who's now Rhonda Mudge.
Yeah.
And Rhonda swam in that New Zealand Marathon Swim series. She joined that the year before.
Okay.
She'd swum Lake Taupo, she'd swum Cook Strait, which were both races that year.
Okay.
And
So in other words, whatever it was, like 10, 12 people lining up on the one side and racing across to the other, as opposed to just a crossing.
No, they had a time frame.
Yeah.
I think the lake was everybody started at the same time, but in Cook Strait they had a time frame in which to do this one.
Okay.
So, and it might have been 4 or 5 days. So
got you.
a tide.
Okay.
And then you were assigned a boat pilot, and you made your own choices about what time to start.
And the winner was the quickest crossing.
The winner was the quickest crossing.
Okay.
So people like John Coots, Patrick Benson, Philip, Mida McKenzie, Carolyn Wadsworth, Belinda Shields were all in that group with and a couple of others.
Belinda Shields, that's Belinda Donaldson now.
Belinda Donaldson, yeah.
Yeah, she was down at the at Alexandria with us. Yeah.
Ice swimming.
Yeah, well, she's coaching in Wanaka.
Yeah, she convinced Laura Quilter and Cameron Stanley to come along. They were there because of Belinda.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, really stoked for Laura at the things she's achieved.
Yeah, she did well, eh?
In the last 12 months or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was really excited, eh? She just looked like she was bubbling with sort of enthusiasm and happiness, excepting after her 1K. She didn't. It didn't look as if she enjoyed that as much.
That's Laura.
Yes, but she did very well. Yeah,
she did.
Yeah, so that's cool.
What was tougher, Cook or Taupo? Can you remember that far back?
Each in their own way. The lake was tough. And, the difference between freshwater and saltwater and all of those sorts of things. But it probably was the swim that I'd had a few under my belt. The swim I was best prepared for. Everything went well. And according to the guy that was sitting in the forestry hut up on top of the hill, I negative split the lake.
Oh, really?
So
that's pretty cool.
By about 2 minutes.
That's awesome. So that doesn't happen a lot.
That makes it pretty special too.
Yeah.
How did you chat to that guy? How did you track him down?
Did he track you down? He called up on the radio on the boat.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So that was quite cool.
He obviously wasn't putting in a full day's work that day.
No, there wasn't any fires happening, so he didn't really have to do much. Just sat there watching me.
So do you have a preference, or saltwater, freshwater? Do you prefer one, or is it just whatever?
I don't know. I don't know if I prefer one or the other.
Yeah.
You just prepare differently for each.
Yeah.
So you're going to do a lake swim, then you got to do some swimming in a lake and understand that it's a little bit less buoyant and maybe a little bit harder because of that. Saltwater stuff is great. Growing up in Wellington, you're surrounded by saltwater.
Yeah.
So I had my grounding in Oriental Bay and Lyell Bay.
Yep. Had a couple of mates sending me messages this morning. 8.5 degrees this morning.
Nice.
Out from Oriental Bay.
Yep.
Around the lighthouse and back. So.
Right. I think the weather's been pretty foul.
Yeah. A tough bunch down there, eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't ever tell them that. Don't edit that piece out.
No, but having, that's where I did my open water prep.
Yeah.
So
Can't ask for a better place.
well, going to Wakatipu and it being similar was so the cold wasn't an issue. I don't think I've ever had any issues with the cold in a swim.
Have you done any swims in the States?
No.
No?
No. The only regret I have in terms of the things that I did, when I came back from England, just a few days later, I had a motorcycle accident and dealt to my right leg.
Is that scar, or is that?
No, that's the replacement that was done about 6 years ago.
Okay.
So it was a long journey to the replacement.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt for a while there that I was going surgery, recovery, and then 6 months later, before anything could get back into a decent routine, I was back in surgery and over a long period of time. But the only one I would really love to have done that I didn't was Catalina.
Okay. It's not too late.
Well, yeah, maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
I don't think so, eh?
No.
Hey, so there's a young man by the name of Garth Barfoot. We'll talk about him soon. Yeah.
Yep.
He's a little bit older than you.
He is a little bit older than me.
Come on. Okay.
Yeah.
So at about that stage in this channel, 23, 24, I'm assuming you would have finished studying. You qualified as a school teacher. Is that what you studied?
I finished my university degree, then swam Cook Strait that summer.
Yeah.
Then went to Teachers College, and the following year was the year that I did the Lake and the English Channel.
Okay.
Yeah, so working at the National Bank.
Yep.
Because in those days there weren't school teaching jobs.
Yeah.
And it was just on the phone to Rhonda one day, as we were prone to do, and said, I'd really quite like to go to England and have a go at the Channel.
Yeah.
There'd been a few others. Try and get their names right. But when we got there, we met Sandra Blewett was there having one of her attempts. Lizzie Horner from Christchurch was there on the same group of tides that we were there for.
So that era would have also been Donna, is it Boziad?
No, not Donna that year. She was quite a long way after.
Okay.
Yeah, quite a number of years later.
Okay. Yeah. So Donna's story is also, it's quite a funny one from what I understand. She went out with a boat crew to swim around just Rainy Toto Island.
Yes.
Which is 20 k's.
Yeah.
But the guys got the gap wrong and they landed up doing Rangi and Matatopo, which is 32 k's.
Okay. Yep.
So she became the first person to swim around both of those islands, but not by choice.
Not by
if
choice.
that makes any sense. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
And we all know those mistakes get made quite regularly, or the conditions just aren't what you thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
You know, forecasts are forecasts; they're not set in concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's open water. Yeah.
So since then, obviously you've still been swimming and ticking over, and you've got involved in events, and you're a swim coach, and you're a multitasker of note. Talk to us about just all the other things that you've done from a swimming perspective that is not necessarily swimming.
I've done some swimming coaching for probably about 41, 42 years.
Yeah.
And I've actually just in the last 12 months retired from almost all of that.
Yep. Does it feel good or weird?
It felt weird for a little while.
Yeah.
But no, it feels good. I can, as it happens when you get a little bit older, you get some health issues that need to be dealt with, and I just decided that after having spent 40 odd years focusing on doing things for other people, that I needed to
look after yourself.
Focus on myself.
Cool.
And the rest of the family, and with Dad going into his twilight years, wanted to be able to spend time with him, and that's there's no regrets in terms of that decision. swim coaching and events were dealt to really badly by COVID.
Yeah.
Went from making an okay living to losing thousands and thousands of dollars because swims had to be cancelled, or you had to restrict the number of people who were allowed to be involved. But regardless of what happens with all of that, all the bills still have to be paid. So you have a swim, the Lake Rotomar situation, where it had to be cancelled because of the aftermath of the cyclones. You refund the entry fees, but you still got 10 or 12 grand's worth of bills to pay. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. There was a small group of the people who prepaid that just flicked an email and said, "Hey, we know how tough it is. Just keep our $70," which was really nice. And then there was also the ones who, when is it coming? So that's okay. People are people, and they make decisions without realising the impact that it has on others. But in the end, I just couldn't sustain those level of losses.
They're big numbers. Again, they add up for a little business, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And I think you're 100% correct in that. It's become quite difficult to actually host an event. It's other than the various deposits and things that you need to pay to get the right sort of assistance and legalities at the event. There's the permits that are required. There's all the safety that's required, and the hurdles are getting higher and higher each season. And I know some of the guys up here. The Ocean Swim Series with the bridge.
Oh, yes.
Where you swam a kilometre, from whatever it was, south to north, and turned around and came back.
Came back again, yep.
I mean, there's road closures to pay for, there's scaffolding that needs to be applied. There's thousands and thousands of dollars just to get people into the water.
The lifeguard costs were just getting quite ridiculous, to be honest.
It's pretty sad, but I mean, I understand the safety needs to be done. But at the same time...
And for me, particularly with my background in surf lifesaving, the safety is number one. And if you can't put on a safe event,
don't do it.
Then you don't do it. I don't want. I would have hated for there to have been anything that could be easily controlled by that to have happened at any of my events. And touch wood, I was very lucky.
That was Jim's head, by the way.
Never had any.
But it's been happening
issues.
for years. I was lucky enough to do the last time they did the Whale Island swim.
Yes.
And we went down the next year and it was cancelled, and they just said we're not doing it anymore because even back that was 2008, and they said it's just the paperwork is silly.
Yeah, I tried to resurrect that.
Yeah, I remember that.
But you know what? Close of entries about 6-7 days prior to the scheduled weekend.
Yeah.
Two pre-entries.
Really?
That was it. So I'd already spent significant money and an awful lot of time working with the regional council, sorting a whole lot of stuff out. And the locals were awesome. They really wanted it to happen again. Working with the Whakatane Swimming Club, trying to sort out how it could happen easily.
And sponsors are so hard to find these days as well, right? So it would be nice to have a sort of medium to larger size business that's willing to do some community work and help cover some of those bills.
But when you've already spent 5 or 6 grand, and I know if it had been a success, that you don't have to spend all of that every year. Some of that was investigating and and sorting that sort of stuff out. But the moment I cancelled it, get a phone call. Oh, but I was going to enter.
Yeah, but you didn't, Taupo.
You didn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's the that's something that I say to our local mount people who are still coming to me now. I haven't run our Thursday night series, which the longest event at that was about 2Ks. I haven't run that for nearly 2 years. And I still have people coming to say, oh, well, why did you do it? Well, because every time the wind blows or it rains or something happens, you don't come.
Yeah.
And I can't afford to put it on just in case you're going to come.
Yeah.
You don't want to make a commitment. And the other thing around all of that too is that I think as we progress into the events, people's expectation of the bling that they're going to be given becomes greater and greater.
Which is also bullshit, right? I mean, I remember back in the day in the running races, it was always a medal and a badge and a this and a that.
Yep.
To this day, I don't know where any of that stuff is.
No. And most of the people that insist on having them they wouldn't be able to find theirs either.
Yeah.
We should actually scrap all of that, get a handshake and an energy or whatever it is at the end, and a great experience. Bring down the costs, if possible.
If you want a certificate, here's a online
Here's
link.
Here's an online one that you can
print
download.
your own.
Have some photos. You're 100% correct, right? Because that bling is all. I mean, it's great for the kids.
Yep.
Maybe
and spot prizes are awesome.
Yeah, spot prizes, but
there shouldn't need to be.
I agree.
This is, for the most part, amateur sport. It's people like you and I coming and wanting to have a splash around the mount.
Yeah.
But not coming back the next time because you didn't get a medal or you didn't win a towel or whatever, then that just seems crazy to me. Those things should be absolutely secondary. But I'm obviously out of step with the participants in that. So
no, you're not. I'm with you. But let me tell you what I loved about one of your events, and it was the Lake Rotemar event.
Yes.
And I think there were options of 3Ks, 6Ks, 9Ks, 12Ks, 15Ks? Or did it stop at 12? I can't remember.
No, we went to 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, other than a great location, right, which is...
Beautiful place, isn't
it? So nice, right? I mean, I must make a note for my kids when I die, they can sprinkle my ashes over there somewhere, right? Just on the beach is fine. They don't even need to go into the water. But you had a system where it was a 3K loop. It was a square,
1,500 metre loop.
1,500 metre loop, there you go. And you had a wire that was probably about 1 metre under the water.
Yep.
Off floating buoys.
So
right?
I can't claim responsibility for that.
Yep.
That was made by the Whakatane Kiwanis Club.
Yep.
Who ran that event for many, many years.
Yep.
For probably close to, 20 or more years, it was the New Zealand Open Water Champs.
Okay.
Always held on the 6th of February, regardless of the day of the week that it was.
Yep. Okay.
And it was
what was the reason for that?
I guess it was the only open water swim that had those sort of distances in it.
Okay.
And then suddenly Swimming New Zealand decided that they wanted, and I'm not throwing knives at Swimming New Zealand, but I think people actually think there's money in these events.
Yeah.
And so if somebody, if a small group of people like the Kiwanis are doing okay out of an event, then you look at that and you think, but if we did our own, we could get all that money.
Yes, and we can make it better.
And then suddenly they find that they can't make it better, that the amount of money that's being made actually isn't very much.
And there's a lot of work.
And it costs a lot.
Did that become the Epic?
That became the Epic.
And then they've since got rid of the Epic because it wasn't profitable, and they've handed over the ownership of the Epic to the next person already. Yeah.
So if that's an example, there are examples all around the country of people coming in with the big flashy stuff and actually destroying the local event. Then the flashy event doesn't have the success
over long term
that they thought it was going to. and
The local events have died
the
out.
local
in the interim.
events are gone now.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite sad.
You're almost sensible enough to like run for president in the US, huh? It's way more.
They don't hire people in sensible.
I don't have orange hair.
Yeah, and you're way too young as well, right? So that's another thing.
Yeah, when I'm in my 80s, I'll have a think about that.
Okay, but yeah, that wire that ran under the water was really
so
really
so
fun
it's
for
weighted.
me, right?
It's
Yeah.
We're allowed to say this out loud. It's got lead weights. Because of course
Yeah.
they're folded all the way at about 5 metre intervals.
Yeah.
Yep.
And all that stuff is now being stored
Yeah.
with the Whakatane Swimming Club, because I believe that they are the best bet for it to be resurrected at some time in the future.
Yep.
And I've made it quite clear to them that I'm more than happy to help them with it,
Yeah.
make sure it happens. But the guys from Whakatane Kiwanis, the instructions down to the nth degree
Yeah.
of exactly how to unroll the lines, how to put it all together, how to clip, because actually the line under the water is the only line. So you've got a line that goes.
Yeah, there's nothing above it.
So there's three bits
Yeah.
that add up to 1,500
Oh
metres.
yeah.
And then there's clips, and on each of those clips you put a marker buoy,
Oh okay. Yeah.
and then in the three corners you put the great big ones,
Yeah.
and then you get a speedboat out there pulling the apex. Well, the two corners have been
Secured.
waratahs
Yeah.
at about 2.5 metres long.
Yeah.
So it's quite a mission to put it up
It
here.
probably I've done it 3 times, I think, and it took maybe 3 or 4 hours and about 6 of us to do it,
Okay.
which is why you do it the night before.
Yeah, but well worth it, right? So cool.
It's very cool.
So that means that it's probably the one really accurate open water course then.
Yep. And
Because the line
Is the
is
line.
1,500 metres.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And also, you don't need to break your neck like looking up for the buoy. You know, you can just swim on the line and look at the line.
Yes, because it's yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is very cool.
Yeah.
I love
so
that. Yeah.
they
Gee, there'd be even more crashing into other people than usual.
Well, yeah, the first length, right? Because everybody's looking for the line, so everybody's trying to get to the line. But quite quickly, if you're me, you're at the back of the pack pretty quickly, and you've got the line to yourself.
But it's also why I separated the start times for each distance.
Got you.
So the guys doing the 15Ks
Okay.
went 30 minutes before the, where did we go, 12, 9, 6, 3. And then that last year I really wanted to do a 21K.
Yes. That would have been awesome, eh?
It would have been, had a chat with Phil about its usefulness. You know, are we just doing it for the sake of doing it, or is it useful? And he thought that it would be an awesome qualifying swim, you know, for potential swimmers to prove that they were capable of doing the 40Ks in the lake, or swimming Cook Strait, or
Yeah. I reckon it's useful. We should get it resurrected in one
but
format
we kept
or the other.
it really simple. Put a feeding table in the lake. So just got those fold-up tables, and stuck them in the lake at about waist depth water,
Yeah.
and you just came in and got your drink or whatever you were having whenever you wanted to. You had an opportunity every 1,500 metres. Some of them did it every lap. Others didn't.
That's very cool, mate.
That's yeah.
So what's next? I mean, now you've got all this time on your hands. Surely you've got Catalina in your sights, yeah?
Oh,
Are you still swimming?
I'm trying to swim
Yep.
as often as I can. I'm still working.
Yep.
So I'm still running an adult fitness squad at 9 o'clock in the morning at Baywave,
Yep.
and trying to swim as much as I can. But at the moment, I'm only managing maybe twice a week.
Okay.
You know, the other things that happen when you get old and you get those skin cancer things cut out of
Yes,
you, and
takes
every
a
time they
little
do
bit
that, you've got to wait 2 weeks before you get back in the water.
I relate to that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
You've got that to look forward to, dude.
I actually
Hey,
go for a
wait
checkup.
until they cut your knee open and give you a new metal knee. Then every time you go through the airport, bing,
Isn't it?
ah,
and I'm also surprised how clunky it is.
mine's pretty smooth.
Mine creaks and clunks quite regularly. So
How old is yours?
6 years.
And yours is like 2 years, eh?
2-3 years.
So maybe I haven't treated it as well as I should have. I thought I had.
I'm trying to look after mine. Let's see how long I can keep it going.
So the other thing I've been doing in the meantime, in fact I've always been doing, is my involvement in surf lifesaving.
Yep.
So last year I was privileged to be awarded life membership of the national body,
Yep.
which was very cool.
That's very cool.
Very cool. But in recent years, most of the things that I do, I chair the Surf Lifesaving New Zealand Honours and Awards Committee.
Okay.
So I get to say thank you to heaps and heaps of people every year, and manage that process.
What club did you belong to? The Mount?
I started, actually, interestingly, I started out at Waimari in Christchurch
Yep.
when I was at Teachers College.
Okay.
Then when I went back to Wellington, I joined Lyell Bay.
Yes.
Been a member of Lyell Bay since then.
Okay.
But at the Mount, I belong to Mount Maunganui Lifeguard Service.
Okay.
But I also maintain social memberships of Papamara and Manu.
All over.
But you can just show up and you go for a swim out in the drink, and you can come in and have a hot shower. Or you can,
Hey, so what happened to the Mount swim? You also did the Mount swim, right?
I did.
Around the Mount.
Yes.
That was also a classic on the calendar.
40 years.
Yeah?
I swam the very first one.
Yeah? It's like 7Ks, right?
Well, the first one was a 7K swim.
Yep.
So from Pilot Bay around the Mount across.
Okay. Clockwise, yeah.
Clockwise, across around Rabbit Island, across to the middle of the bay again, and then back in.
Okay.
And then second year or the third year, they added the 4K swim.
Okay.
And after a time, the 7K just dropped off because there wasn't enough entries.
Yeah.
So we resurrected. So I've been involved in managing that event for 12 or 13 years.
It's a very cool swim, that.
Is Matt Hunt? Is he going to get it up and running again?
No, Matt's not with the Mount Surf
He's
Club
not there anymore.
No.
Oh man, somebody's got to get that going. Eh?
No, Mount Surf Club's. Cut a long story short, the Mount Surf Club's had a really rough period since COVID.
Yeah.
And just coming out the other end of that.
Yeah.
And events just became a step too far.
Yeah, I get it.
Do
they still have
focus on
national-
the core?
National junior champs down at the Mount? Surf Lifesaving champs?
Oceans, yeah.
Oceans,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, when we go to those big events, I look after the presentations.
That's cool.
Which is quite cool.
Yeah,
So I actually get to see all the cool kids.
My daughter's entering her first season of IOB racing.
Oh, wow.
I'm quite keen to go and stand on the beach and,
Yep.
very cool.
Awesome.
Very cool sport. Eh?
Very, very cool. Yes.
So how do we get more of those little whippersnappers into swimming ocean races? Because there's a massive drop-off from when the kids leave the pool. They just stop swimming altogether.
Yeah, but why do they leave the pool?
Well, they get pushed too hard, right?
Well, maybe they don't. They're not. I think kids decide way too early that they're not any good.
Yeah.
But we also have. We're going to say this politely. We have all those parents
Yes.
who tell their 9 and 10 or 11-year-olds that they're going to be the next best thing, next Michael
Olympian,
Phelps, or New Zealand's gold medalist, which just isn't true.
Yeah.
And that's never going to happen in any sport.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Wayne Goldsmith,
Yeah.
and I think that whole balance is better philosophy is great.
Yep.
But one of the downsides that I see of that is that a kid that tries to get involved in 3 or 4 sports through that period from, say, 9 years through to
16,
13, 14, 15, each of those sports is still trying to get them for that to be their only sport.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be surf lifesaving versus swimming.
To be both, yeah.
It should be both.
And swimming and water polo and surf lifesaving. Yeah, just whatever spins your wheels.
And the swim coaches need to see that nobody makes an Olympic swim team these days until they're in their 20s. And you look at, it might have been in the 1970s that you could win a medal at 14.
Yeah.
But you have a look at the average age of the medalists at this Olympics, and some of them are knocking on 30.
Yeah.
Yep. Still hope for you, Jim. You can make it, dude.
I tell you, I could spend $1 gazillion on coaching. I could give up work. I could do everything, and I still wouldn't make a representative team out of a club.
Something that I saw a wee while ago that disturbed me too is that the whole advent of masters events. So people over the age of, say, 30 getting involved in what they believe is high-level stuff, triathlon, open water swimming, road running, all of that stuff. My coaching program, around about the time of the global financial crisis, when people were looking and saying, hey, well, what elective spending can I stop? And I was pretty shocked at the number of adults, males and females, who continued their own adult swim squad because I'm going to the Triathlon Worlds and I'm one of the world's top age groupers.
For all the wrong reasons, eh?
And took their children out of their swimming lessons and their development swim squads because that's where they chose to save the money. And I just couldn't believe it.
Shocking, eh?
Oh, it's not right. But somehow or other, that's the world. So I'll be interested to see if anyone's got any data on that this post-COVID time. As to whether that's happening.
We've reached out to Swimming New Zealand and had a couple of chats with the guys. They seem very keen on having a conversation with us because that's the type of stuff I'd like to find out about. What can all of us as a community do to help promote swimming and the healthiness of getting kids out into the ocean.
If I had some advice and anyone at Swimming New Zealand asked me, I would say to them that you have to decide what you want to be. They seem to want to control everything, but their stated aims, like even in terms of the progressions that they have and the way that we teach learn to swim in New Zealand and have done for probably 15 to 20 years, is that the focus is on, right from the moment the kid comes to their first swimming lesson, in those accredited swim schools, is teaching them 4 competitive strokes. Rather than saying, hey, the first thing we need to do is make these kids safe. The second thing that we need to do is show them how to enjoy the water. And then about number 5 or 6 is, would you like to be involved in swimming as a sport?
I so agree with you. I know that in Auckland we've got, we let youngsters into the pools for free if they're under a certain age because that way we're going to have less drownings. And I kind of like that, but what I'd really like to see is water safety courses offered free to everybody. And then, once you've got that water safety course, then we have
a mindset in New Zealand, and it's been going on for decades. Even the organisation Water Safety New Zealand, they ran that Swim for Life program.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And what was the one called where in the summertime you go to as many school pools or places that you could, and you'd
remember
run
what it's called,
free basic swimming lessons for any kid who wanted to come, and it was all free. It was all funded.
But now,
But it got to the end of that, a period of that.
yeah,
So, well, we've done that now. We're going to try something different.
yeah.
Rather
As
than
opposed to carrying
saying,
on
hey,
with it. Yeah.
after 10 years, we're actually seeing some evidence that
Yeah,
it's beginning to
get
work.
the evidence, and then we'll get
So
some
let's
more,
make sure that we're way too impatient, and I think we need to understand that a kid, if you get a kid at 5 years old, then in terms of swimming education and water safety practices, we shouldn't be handing them back to anyone until they're 15 or 16.
Yeah. Just learn to be safe and enjoy the water, and that's what that's what young children should be. It's
Safety
all
first.
about.
100% right.
You know, it's taken us all this time to realise that the most important water safety skill is floating.
Yeah.
Why has that taken this many decades for that to become something that,
Especially as an island nation, right? We all live within, a couple of kilometres of the beach, so we should all be able to float as a bare minimum.
I just remember learning to swim when I was a kid. I grew up in Rhodesia, or Zimbabwe as it is now. And floating was the thing that they used to focus on to start off with, because we all spent time in it was so hot. Everybody who could would be at the pool.
So Robert Mugabe's not so stupid.
Mugabe wasn't around when I was growing.
Okay.
No, you were with that Garfield Todd guy. The Kiwi.
No, maybe,
Kiwi.
maybe let's put it in the middle. I was with the Ian Smith, who also had New Zealand connections.
Yeah.
Anyway, we probably need to start wrapping things up. We've taken a lot of your time. Yeah.
That's cool.
Thank you so much for making the effort of joining us. It's so good to see you again. And,
It is.
You're
Nice.
a legend, and thank you very much for all you've done for swimming, and continue to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've enjoyed some of your events, and this is the first time I've been able to talk to you. It's been truly awesome. Although I'm sure you gave me something at one of the events, because you hand out all sorts of things.
There were so many prizes that there was. If you came to prize giving, you got one.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
No,
Cool.
that's cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
No.
Well, thanks for listening. That was a great chat. As always, if you want to give us any feedback, suggestions or anything, just send an email to cleverdicksnz@gmail.com, or send us a comment on our Instagram account. Or if you see us around at any swims, just come and have a yarn with us. That would be great. Okay, cheers. Bye.